My dear friends, the title of my brief homily today is about the art and science of hospitality. The experience of Abraham and Sarah and the experience of Jesus with Martha and Mary do not only give us the basic understanding of hospitality, both as an art and as a science, but also give us the spiritual richness of hospitality. Before we go into this, we will have a brief outline as usual. We will search for the root of the word of hospitality. Where did this word come from? Then we will need the help of logic that will give us a deeper understanding of the term and the nature of the word. And then we will go into immediately the basic principles of hospitality. What are the principles that constitute the entire discipline of hospitality? And then we will discover a deeper meaning, a spiritual meaning in the experience, of course, first of Abraham and Sarah. What did hospitality do to them? And to Mary and Martha with Jesus. And we will relate that to our lives, as followers of Jesus. And in my case, my vocation, how did hospitality help me in my vocation and also here in our parish? What we are doing here and what we are building here as a concrete illustration of what hospitality is. So first, let's go to the origin of the word. In English language, if you have, English is basically monosyllabic. The basic English words, one syllable. But when you have two or more, it's no longer the Anglo-Saxon term. It's coming from either Latin or Spanish or French, So the word hospitality came from the Latin word hospice, Hospis. That's also the root of the word hospice with the CE, where we bring people who are basically, just palliative care. And also it's the origin of the word hospital. So, in logic, hospitality is a relative term, which means that it does not stand on its own. When you have the word host, which is the English word for, host from the word hospitality, hospice, you immediately think of a counterpart, another person who is a guest. Okay? So now we establish the nature of the word and the meaning of the term. When you have a host, you have a guest. That is implied already. The interaction between the host and the guest and the nature of their relationship and their interaction constitute the science of hospitality. It's also an art. Okay? Now, what are the principles involved in hospitality? First, when you are a host expecting a guest, there is already a prearranged agreement between you. And the first meeting between the host and a guest is that the host should make the guest feel welcome. He is welcome. You are expecting, there's already an agreement implied. That is the meaning of the hi and the hello and the smiling ushers when you enter the church. The usher, they're very good in this. Uniform, standing there. Hi, hello, how are you? You are making the first steps of hospitality, making the guest feel welcome. I'm very, particular with this because in hospitality in the parish, the front desk in the office and the ushers are your first contact with Saint Vincent de Paul. They are your first contact. The front desk, I tell them, dress well, smile, and make people feel welcome. The ushers, the same. Some of them don't like the coat and that they're neat, but you have to do that because they recognize that you are there to welcome the guests. First basic common sense principle of hospitality, making the guest feel welcome. Second principle is you have to make the guest feel comfortable and feel at home. That is the meaning of the narthex, the foyer in the houses and homes, the coffee pots in the offices and the sales departments. There are many businesses excelling in this. Large, comfortable lounge chairs. Car dealerships, they're very good in this. They're very good. You enter there, there's ice cream maker, popcorn, because you will not live unless you buy the car. But the first step there, your contact, you feel at home. The element of trust that you can do business with these people. They are not messing up with their guests and customers. They are serious. That's why you feel at home. But of course, they get that back from the price, but that's implied already. But they want to make you feel at home. That is the second most principle, most important thing in hospitality. Third, as a host, avoid being controlling. You do not control. You are a companion. You are a guide. Don't be controlling. Don't do all the talking and then tell your guest what to do. Kind of a little bit distant. Waiting. A good waiter is somebody who is close enough to know what the customer wants, but far enough not to listen to their conversation. You have nothing to do with that. Stay away. Especially if your guests are important people. You are not allowed to get close and then kind of join their conversation. That is not your job. Your job is to see close enough to know what they need, but not to barge in there as if it's not, they don't like that, as a host. So that's what it means to be a good waiter. The good host is somebody who makes the guest kind of free, but not controlling. Because if you're very controlling, you will turn off your guests. They feel like cornered. Don't do that. So the next principle in hospitality is, you may not know this, but your guest may be bringing a gift. He may be bringing a gift. In the case of Abraham and Sarah, because they were so good, those were angels who visited them. They were visited by angels, the three of them, and they were so entertaining. They give them food, water, and before the angels left, they said, "Where's your wife?" Sarah, 10 years past Medicare, was barren. The angel said, "Next year, you will have a baby. You will have a baby because you were good hosts." That was the gift of the angels to Sarah. Isaac, at 75, the angels gave her the baby. They were good hosts. You know, the word host, you know, like the bread, when we turn it into the body and blood of the Lord, the bread and wine, you know, the guest has the power to transform the host to someone he would never imagine. What is the key to discover the gift of the guest? You have to listen to the guest. That's what Mary did. Mary did. She sat down at the foot of Jesus, listened to the guest. And that listening, Jesus, the guest, transformed Mary, converted her from a sinner to a saint. The host, the bread and the wine, opening themselves to Jesus, has the power to transform the bread and wine into the body and blood of God. When Jesus comes into our life as a guest, which is actually the very essence of prayer, it's not really talking to God, it's listening to God. In prayer, we are the host. God is the guest who has the power to transform us from ordinary people to people beyond our imagination, because God has the power to transform us to be like Him. From my experience in my vocation, I said this also a couple of weeks ago. I came to America in 1988 of June with only one carry-on luggage and a box of dried fish. My first assignment was New York City, 14th Street, St. Bernard's Church. As a guest, I was observing a lot. But later on, I discovered that as a priest, I should be a good host. I should be a good listener. And so the assignments came until here in Florida. In 2 years, when I qualify for Social Security, I would have generated between 35 to 40 million to the church in America. Not only because I know how to speak, but because I know how to listen to my guests, my people. What we are doing here today, if you look around, these are the results of silent listening to what the people need, listening to you, listening to God. And God has blessed us with, you look around and you see, listening to the guest. Because the guest has the power to transform us from ordinary people to persons beyond our imagination. That's what Mary did. Sitting at the foot of Jesus, listening to the Lord as a host. That's the homily today.